to govern the behaviour that occurs in this chamber, and to look after the well-being of my fellow elected members, staff, and other members of the public who are present. Leading into that, Mr. Rotterdam, you haven't been given permission to film, and so that needs to be noted. If there's any disruption from anything that you do, we may have to assess that. Having said that, can I just ask everybody to stand for the later in this meeting there will be a discussion about code of conduct complaints made against me. This includes one in respect of a post made by me on Facebook. Nobody sitting at this table or at a council table across the country is a stranger to the increasing levels of agitation and abuse experienced by elected members online. In many cases it goes beyond the accepted levels of criticism and becomes personal. And warriors from the safety of being behind their keyboards now have more access to elected officials and public service staff than ever before. By and large, I accept this as part of my role, but on this occasion, and the comments were one hit too many, and in the heat of the moment, I hit back. I am human, and these things impact me. However, that's not an excuse. I'd like to formally apologise for demeaning the role of the mayor. My conduct was not befitting of the position. That is something I deeply regret. It is an honour for me to be the mayor of this great district, and the last thing I wanted to do was disrespect that. I acknowledge that we need to show greater self-control moving forward. We'll put steps in place to ensure I'm better in this space. I also acknowledge that there is a clear potential conflict of interest in me taking part in further discussions about this topic, so I will take the opportunity to exclude myself from this matter. I invite anybody else who believes they may have a conflict to do the same. Thank you. So, councillors, can I move to, are there any apologies? I don't think there are any there to be noted, so move on to public forum. Mr. Tanner, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Ash Tanner. I'm the Mayor of the Auckland District Council. I'm studying my 13th year in local government, and I just asked if I could come down and talk to the public form. Just in regards to, some of the media that's been in the newspaper in the last few days, and it's just a concern of mine, that I just thought, hey, if I can come down and just offer some advice, whether it's taken or it's not taken, that's entirely up to you. But I'll just tell you what I've found over the years in local government. Some of you might be new councillors, some of you might already have a few years under your belt, so that's really cool. So I guess where I start is, one of the things I said when I got back in as mayor again, second time term as mayor, and one of the things I said to my councillors, and we had a 50-50 split, so we had half new councillors, half older, and I said to them, if we ever become a divided council, and I said, think about it, I said, what we end up doing is we end up wasting 3 years, and we end up losing the respect from all our communities as well, and we achieve absolutely nothing. So just keep that in mind, because we all have different opinions around the table, and that's fine, that's democracy, and that's how it should be. We don't have to be friends with each other, but when we come to the boardroom, we have to be professional enough to get the job done for our communities. Because those are the people that put us into the positions that we are, and we're privileged to be able to do that. And it's not an easy task. It's not an easy task putting your name forward to become a councillor or become a mayor. It's not an easy task, but we need to respect each and every one of our positions that we hold in the community. So what I'm getting at is, if it becomes dysfunctional, and this case study, and it's very close to us with Tauranga City. If it becomes dysfunctional, the government will send commissioners in. What will happen? They won't pick a mayor out, or they won't pick councillors out. They'll pick the whole lorry out, and they'll put commissioners in, and it'll be more expensive than the government's model that we had, and you will lose every respect from every citizen that voted you into the position you're in. So I want everyone to reflect on that. Nobody's perfect, we're not perfect. There's probably plenty of news articles about me that show I'm not perfect either, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we're here to represent all our community's views. Not a handful of people out there or this and that. There's tens of thousands of people that are put combined. You're in this role, sitting around the table. So, I just hope, I've just come down to basically say that because I'm concerned, we don't want it to look like that. The government want it to look like that because then the headline news, the government will say, see, we told you local government's dysfunctional and we're getting rid of the whole lot of them. So, just have a think of that. Respect each other. You don't have to vote with each other. You can vote against a motion. That's perfectly normal. But and whether it falls in your favour or it falls against it, get on with the job. Move on to the next one. Shake hands at lunchtime. Good one. We had a good debate. Didn't go my way. So what? Move on to the next one because you're representing the people. That's the only people, not your own egos or whatever's happening. The people. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for letting me have the opportunity to come down. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Ash. Jenna Clover, please.
She's not here.
Barry DeLaw. Sir, Barry DeLaw.
Hi, guys, I know you already know me, and congratulations for being re-elected. I was a few weeks or a few days after Waitangi Day, and the lady knew that I went down to the council every so often. And she says, she says, oh, what's been happening on the council? I said, well, they voted in the public workshops and forums, and she said, well, that's a good idea, and we were talking about it, and so she said to say thank you for the council for doing it, and all I would say thank you to some other people in the South Waikato, and would probably like to get this opportunity to see how the council operates and how it operates and how democracy works. Democracy is a precious thing, especially in this day and age. And so I'm just letting you know that there's a lot of us that would like to see these workshops continue, will start and all that. So we would like to say thank you. The next one, I was approached by somebody from the Rainbow community in the South Waikato, and they would like to know if the council would be able to, on occasions, be able to fly the rainbow flag outside the council office. I said, I'm not sure if they can do that. I have to discuss it. But I said I'll put the idea to the council, and I think it's a good idea, and I'm sure because the council works in the interest of all of us, what they should do, and that they will probably do this for them. So yeah, that's about what I'm going to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Gordon Triplebane.
Yes, good morning, people. I'm Gordon Triplebane. I live in Jarrah. Now, when it was made quite clear from this council that the workshops will be open, everybody was quite happy. Now, two councillors who voted for it have said, can we please change our mind? This sends a message to ratepayers that either councillors are not listening at the meeting or do not understand what they are voting for. Now, I would like the workshops to be open. It hasn't been open for some time. And the basis of that is that it lets everybody see how open and transparent this council wants to be. Open and transparent? Has it been? Most of the ratepayers at the moment are saying no. We want to see a council that works for the ratepayers. Not a council that all of a sudden, person videotaping. Do not videotape. Yes, the right to videotape, understand the works. But how does the council get around that? They issue a trespass notice. How can we trespass a ratepayer from our buildings? Now this has really gone beyond the joke. If he takes legal action, how much is it going to cost the ratepayers? Now this council has to look at what they're doing, look at themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Ian Buckley.
Good morning and thank you for allowing me to speak. I wish the council had asked the community for ideas to repurpose the lead play store area. I do appreciate that this would have been an undertaking. I had only talked about this very thing back in November's meeting to include public in consultation if possible. This was an area that useful and expired ideas could be inquired. I believe it should have incorporated an information centre. Importantly, it would have provided the opportunity in the best space for our tourists to stop into and discover more than just left-based cafes. A small amount of local art could have been displayed, our specialty stores could have been advertised along with our lake. Our lake is a great asset and place to have a picnic, not too far out of the way. If only the tourists knew it existed and its location. It has great facilities, toilets, playground, exercise equipment, and a lovely concreted walking path around it. Imagine our tourists discovering our lake after visiting the information centre, grabbing some food from a cafe, taking it down to the lake for a picnic. Children can play and have some exercise during their travels, and take away a lovely memory of Te Wāea. They also may discover our specialty stores and purchase a small gift, a special gift, or a memory to take away. What an opportunity missed, or maybe this is still something to be considered. Instead, currently, the tourists are just stopping into their place, eating, using the toilet, and leaving. I also read this from a tourist 2 weeks ago now, on one of our local Facebook pages. It read, every one of those old loos were out of order on Sunday and the new toilet block was filthy. Had to take my kids to BP instead. Maybe the cleaning schedule needs to revisiting or an audit is required. These facilities have cost our district considerable money, so it's disappointing to hear a tourist say this. I wish to express my disappointment that my rates used to repurpose the toilets for the bus drivers are for an exclusive few people and not for the betterment of the entire community. And why is their employer not contributing to it? Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Across the table.
Good morning, everyone, councillors and staff and public. Great to see another good turnout today. So I'm speaking on behalf of the Suffolk Ghetto Resident Ratepayers Action Group. We had a meeting last Monday night with a great attendance, and thank you to the councillors that could attend on the night. The Taru Ward councillors all were on a panel with police. The NZTA is impossible to connect with, as it was refreshing to hear earlier say that the Rokau were having the same issues getting hold of NZTA. Because the Blue Springs is an issue, and that's what the meeting was about, because we feel we lacked an engagement from the council with public and residents of the road in regards to what's happening at the Rokau Blue Springs. And that's why I was looking forward to hopefully the motion going through for the Rokau Blue Springs communication discussions. Anyway, so what I'd like to do, and thank you for apologies for those that couldn't attend. I was going to invite Mrs. Law personally last week, but obviously that meeting couldn't happen. So apologies. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to just read what I read out at the meeting, why we were holding the meeting for the public. Okay, from concept, the opening of the walkway to fully enjoy the beauty of the Te Waiha Springs and River has worked to a point. Teething issues arise with any new venture. Some were problem solved, some ignored, hoping the problem would sort itself out, such as swimming in the springs itself. And of course the car parking making have been two big issues. I can safely assume that no one ever anticipated the extreme number of visitors that we see today. Now we have witnessed an explosion of visitor numbers, estimated well over 50,000 people, which does not include the ever-increasing and daily bus tour operators, some bringing up to 50 plus passengers per load, and at times, several times a day. There are ever-increasing videos via social media and influencers, plus many other promoters, including Air New Zealand's in-flight videos promoting this as a free attraction. Leslie Road has outgrown its original design and isn't safely coping with the ever-increasing visitor numbers. It's affecting businesses and their employees, such as Ingham's Chook Farm. They employ up to 30 locals and have a double train of food trucks using this road daily. Logging has disappeared and logs are being trucked out via Leslie Road. And I can just add that I've found that should be ceasing at the end of April. It would be great if it was before the Easter rush weekend at the Springs, but April is when they're expected to finish. Residents can have difficulty getting to homes as driveways and tangle loops are blocked by tourists on phones. Whites Road has at times, most of the time, become an involuntary game of Russian roulette, with visitors parking along the highway and also walking down it, including over the highway bridge. Lack of driver attention and awareness, confusion with GPS directions, risk-taking moves, and a 100-foot highway not adequately set up for entry and exit to both Whites Road and Leslie Road car parks. As a resident myself on Leslie Road, the constant long tooting is almost a daily occurrence as Highway 28 drivers play dodgems at this intersection not fit for purpose. Serious health and safety issues now outshine the pristine waters that so many flock to see. Management feels lacking from councils, both past and present, keeping in mind that many are newly elected and leadership is key for progress. As well as this, our towns and retailers are not especially benefiting from all these visitors, but we ratepayers are paying for the walkway upgrades, expansion of car park, additional services like toilets and bins, with very little benefit but at great cost. The additions are all good things, but not long-term sustainable, with the council's last long-term plan showing some pretty high rates increases potentially on their way. So we're here tonight for the meeting because community is what started this attraction, and community had valuable input back then. Community, including school children, planted trees and other groups helped with track maintenance at times. Community meetings have been grossly lacking to engage with the public concerns, ideas and general thoughts, especially of late. Discussions over the years of late community input. Workshop discussions are happening without community. Hopefully that's about to change. Community wanted involvement, but most importantly, to be heard and see action. And with the great turnout we had on a very cold autumn feeling night, it was great to have community come. We had several from the road as well attend. This has been such an ongoing 10 years, getting worse and worse, so we need community back in discussion. Can I just add something?
Yeah.
Alright, so Councillor Latinovich brought up a comment about possibly seeing a counter on one of the trees along the track between the bridge and the pump shed. So it'd be really great to see if that's actually operational and if it is still counting, because I think it'd be great to get an accurate record of how many people are attending the walkway, especially now that we have all these buses coming. So you're talking about bus drivers. I mentioned on the night that they're saying they're basically stopping in T-Rail for about 10 minutes for a toilet stop, and that's it. These great ideas in the community, I invited Stuart Needs, who was part of the founding people, to kickstart this walkway with community and school, the college. Yeah, there's some really great ideas out there, but please keep including us in these discussions. It's really vital for the community. Right.
Just one of those.
Yeah, that's, the other thing is also, the following day, or that evening, I got a huge amount of messages coming into my phone, and the following day, including a call from the landowner of the car park that's south on Leslie Road. So Mike Kerr asked if I could meet with him in Tito, and we had a really good discussion. So there is land still available, and that was over 2 years ago, and he has not had a response back from that. So I really appreciate the council being able to see where that discussion last left off and communicate with him further. He has other ideas. Whether I agree with them or not is council and community decision, I guess. So yeah, that communication is really key. And yeah, so there's a big desire for the public to have this regular kind of, I guess, conversation with council. So it's a lot of money's gone into it. And it'd be great to see some of that tax money from the tourism tax scheme come into our towns. Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha. Thank you, everybody who's spoken in the forum, and there'll be relevant responses.
I was allowed to speak for myself as well. I could read for myself.
No,
Well, I've got an email stating the name.
no, you're only speaking to that was on the thing.
I got an email just yesterday.
You're better, you're 500.
Well, that was for the Southway Categories and Road Pays.
You don't get, no, you don't get 500, you don't get 2 500.
You need to talk to the team now, so that's what was
I'll
not public to me.
talk with them.
All right, democracy in action.
Councillors, are there any declarations of conflicts? Councillor Purdy?
I believe I have a conflict of interest for the code of conduct, because I was councillor of the church as a support person, so I may be privy to that information.
Thank you, Councillor. My one has already been recorded. Any else? Councillor Latovich?
Thank you, Your Worship. It may appear that I have a conflict of interest, but I think that this is purely a procedural matter, so I don't think that I have a conflict of interest.
I think you do, you're the one that loves the complaint.
You can lodge them on my behalf conflict of interest.
Right?
You can lodge a conflict of interest on my behalf because I don't think I do have.
I think you have. I don't think you're, I don't think my conflict of interest is separate to yours. As the raiser and the complainant, I think you have a direct conflict. As Councillor Purdy has noted, as your support person, I don't know, see any reason why you should be excluded from that conflict.
Then I would ask you, Your Worship, to lodge a conflict of interest, to declare a conflict of interest on my behalf because I don't think I do have. Thank you.
Councillors, can I just remind you, the declaration of a conflict of interest is by the member him or herself, and is determined by him or herself, and can't be lodged on behalf of anyone else.
In other words, I could declared one in the position I held in that conflict, in that complaint, and so is Councillor Purdy.
I will not declare a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I remove in a second those conflicts of interest? The points, confirmation of the agenda? No, remove in a second.
We have a clarification, please, if I may. Before confirming the agenda, I seek clarification in relation to items appearing and not appearing on the agenda. Item 9.1 proposes a decision of the 29 January resolution regarding offering and live stream workshops. For clarity, in considering that item, does the 29 January resolution remain operative unless and until Council resolves to rescind it? And also, Council resolved that the permanent agenda item titled members request information and questions be included in all public Council agendas. That item does not appear on today's agenda. Can confirmation be provided as to the status of that resolution in the context of this agenda? Thank you.
Your Worship, if I might clarify, and I would like to have clarification from Councillor Latovich in relation to the second issue. The first issue is the original notice of motion which was passed for 10.3 at the last meeting. The staff have been proceeding to implement that notice of motion, which, as you rightly pointed out, has been passed. There has been no pause in terms of proceedings to implement that. Councillor, if you would like to clarify your second point, I'm afraid I didn't pick it up.
Council resolved on last meeting that a permanent agenda item titled Members Request Information and Questions be included in all public council agendas. That item does not appear on today's agenda. Can confirmation be provided as to the status of that resolution in the context of this agenda? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Again, the staff are proceeding with the determination and the implementation of that agenda item. That does require a review and a change to our standing orders, which we are in process. We expect to bring a review of those standing orders to the March meeting.
So can clarification be provided as to when this resolution of the council, lawful resolution of the council will be implemented?
Councillors, as I just said, we will bring the change to the standing orders along with the review of the rest of the standing orders to the next meeting in March at the end of this month. And once they are adopted, we will proceed with the questions and answers resolution which was passed at the last council meeting.
Thank you.
Well, moved and seconded, confirmation of the agenda, moved by Councillor Chilton, seconded by Councillor Lee. All those in favour will say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Against?
One against. Declare the motion is carried. Councillors, confirmation of the minutes for the meeting 29th of January. Moved by Councillor Wallace, seconded by Councillor Tindridge. All those in favour will say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is therefore carried. Councillor, are there any corrections to be made regarding the meeting dated 29th of January? Have we done it? I then refer you to item 9, notice of motion. Councillor Thomas?
In accordance with the requirements under clauses 24.1 and 27.1 of the South Waikato District Council standing orders, the council receives this motion from me to revoke the resolution under item 10.3 of the 29th of January 2026 council meeting in relation to opening of all council workshops and meetings to the public, except where exclusion is legally required. To resolve to adopt a revised motion to have a council workshop within the next 6 weeks to discuss the workable and affordable options for creating a space to open more meetings and workshops up to the community. The workshop to consider and outline the costs and implications of implementing the rescinded motion, what openness and transparency looks like in this space while meeting all legal requirements, the implications on our employee and her employees in relation to their employment agreements and workplace arrangements, draft guidelines prepared by council staff to assist councillors, staff and the public to support a structured approach to open workshops. In accordance with standing orders 24.1 and 27.1, this notice of motion to revoke the previous council meeting resolution 10.3 is signed by more than 1/3 of the elected members. have proposed this motion today and thank you for the opportunity to speak to it. I begin by noting this motion is brought in accordance with clauses 24.1 and 27.1 of our standing orders, with the required support of more than 1/3 of councillors. It is appropriate for us to reconsider a decision previously made by this council. My aim today is not to diminish the intent of that earlier motion, but to ensure that we can deliver its goals in a workable, affordable and legally sound way. Let me put a thought on the table to begin. The All Blacks are our national rugby team. Their goal is to win the Rugby World Cup. There are 15 players on the field and each has a position to play. There is a staff support, coaches, trainers, medical team, dietary staff, etc. They all follow on the field the captain. If the fullback decides to go rogue and prefer to play the style of the NPC team, then two things happen. The goal of winning the World Cup is not achieved, and some would say to me the fullback would be replaced. Now to bring this closer to South Waikato, we are an elected group of councillors representing our community. Our goal is to represent our community and plan for the future of the South Waikato. We have a team of supporters that are here to help us achieve that goal. The CE and her executive team, who all come with knowledge and experience from their roles in other councils around this region and overseas. This group is supported by a team of dedicated workers also focused on creating and launching South Waikato. We are led by the Mayor. He is our captain on the field. If any one of us goes rogue, then we'll find it difficult as a council to achieve our common goal. We are no longer trying to get on the team. We have now been selected for the first 11. So now we have to find ways to work together for the South Waikato. Our community has made it clear they want greater transparency. I hear that and I support it. But transparency, like looking through a window, depends on the angle from which you view it. We bring different perspectives, and unless we define transparency specifically means to the South Waikato District Council, we will continue to talk past each other. The motion passed on the 29th of January to open all workshops and meetings to the public, except where exclusion is legally required, was well intentioned. However, in its current form, it is not workable. Initial conversations indicate that implement this could cost approximately 100k to upgrade the technology that we currently have, so that we can have 3 rooms.
He's so cute. Yeah, I can't hear him. And he's over here quite rude. He's got the floor, and he used our black remarks, and the code of conduct was explained before in the performance that should be coming from the public view. So can you, Te Waha, sorry, to listen. Okay. Sorry.
Carry on.
However, in its initial current form, it is not workable. Initial conversations indicate that implementing this could cost approximately 100k to upgrade the technology that we currently have, so that we can have in 3 rooms where we run workshops where we are brainstorming and small group conversations. Then to operate this level of system, we would need an additional 100 to 200k per year to provide council staff and resource to accurately record the conversations in each space. The catch to this is that no person will be able to watch all 3 spaces at once. Like watching Wimbledon tennis, you can only watch 1 court at a time. You can only watch 1 ring at a time. It should also be noted that 2 of our standing committee meetings have been live streamed. The average number of viewers to these meetings are less than 100, and council meetings over the same periods average just short of 200. These numbers include all of the staff in the building who are also watching the live stream while they're doing multitasking. So we need to consider this information. I also recognise that the Ombudsman has made recommendations about workshops and how we should be open as a normality. It is not clear in the resolution passed in January what constitutes a meeting. Could this also encompass dialogue between the Mayor and CD, or meant to councillor conversations, giving councillor to councillor conversations? I was asked by a member of the community, do councillors now need to take a microphone into the bathroom if 2 councillors go at the same time to record the conversation? It should also be noted that in the independent investigative report into the Code of Conduct complaint, which is also to be tabled today, that the consultant recommends that we amend the motion that was brought into play at the last council meeting. Beyond cost, we must consider the impact on our staff. Our council team is operating under unprecedented pressure due to additional workloads from central government. They have not requested extra resources, but requiring them to provide more in-progress, evidence-based advice under public scrutiny risks compromising their ability to do their job effectively. Remember, they are accountable to the CE, and the CE is accountable to us through the media. It is not fair or reasonable for staff to be exposed in ways that potentially conflict with their employment agreements or workplace expectations.
Thank you, Michael. Councillor Randall, would you like to speak now or?
Yep, I'd like to. So I am seconding this motion because of the following reasons. Firstly, I supported Councillor Litinovich's motion in good faith with the belief that despite the expectation of live streaming to be effective immediately, as prescribed in his original motion, as an employer, I want to ensure that my employee and their staff have the opportunity to pursue the appropriate due diligence, including giving them the flexibility to provide information on business costings, how this might affect our relationships with external workshop presenters, and any potential concerns from staff, such as their safety and well-being. They are part of our community after all, and sometimes things do get taken out of context, catastrophized, and weaponized. Flexibility was not prescribed in the wording, as Councillor Litinovich had repeatedly reminded the CE, not in those words but to that effect. So while I absolutely agree with the objective and the principle, I want to personally apologise for misinterpreting the approach within the original motion, whereby I believed there would be some room for process to ensure the best cost-effective and communal outcome. I believe that incorporating wording as recommended by the independent report in item 10.1, which offers the phrase, as soon as practicably possible, with updates requested of the Chief Executive, would be most appropriate. Number two, reworking this motion through a workshop to achieve the intended outcome of increased transparency, I believe, is the most evidence-based and sustainable way moving forward to ensure we receive all the appropriate information about all the risks and benefits of opening up workshops in any particular way. This way, we can strike the balance of ensuring procedural integrity with public transparency, so that the community has access to contextualised information and also an opportunity to learn more about the processes of information sharing that comes to council before key decisions are made at full council meetings. Number three, workshops to date have involved practical elements such as brainstorming in multiple groups, writing things down and categorising them on boards to help us streamline our collective thoughts, and also group discussions on particular topics, all of which make live streaming difficult and clunky. So I imagine these types of workshops would either need to change completely into a sterilised meeting format where creative thinking and dynamic discussion could be restricted, which might be what we need to do to rebuild community trust. Or we spend however much it costs to purchase new equipment and software that allows for effective group discussions to be broadcast in a consumable way. These are just a couple of considerations, and I believe it would be beneficial to be able to understand and assess our options. Number four, we don't know what all the associated cost options are to accommodating live streamed workshops, while still ensuring effective group discussions. So to have as much information on costing and other potential impacts would be very helpful in structuring and planning workshops in a way that ticks as many boxes as possible without causing unintended consequences. Excuse me. Like wasting money on equipment that doesn't really work for councillors, staff, or the community. We do not want another poophole situation. Cutting corners, rushing things through, and taking unknown risks does not benefit anyone. And lastly, our code of conduct must follow the principles which say we must ensure that the council uses resources prudently. On top of that, we as councillors must hold ourselves accountable to the public. So I hope that this process of rescinding and then reworking the motion better reflects our code of conduct. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Open it up. Councillor Purdy.
I actually have some questions. Is there no questions allowed in a rescinding motion? No. Okay, I might ask them. Okay, so I'm listening to what has been said by two councillors. First, question in my view is why wasn't there an amendment put in? If you didn't like what was in the motion, we all had plenty of time to read it, why wasn't one put in? So then you wouldn't be in this position. I'm interested in Councillor Thomas, you were mentioning numbers, 100k up to 200k. I don't have that information, I haven't been given that information, I find it interesting, you've got the information. Supposed to be one team, you all should know what's going on.
Councillor, that's probably just a figure that Michael has come up with, yet those figures haven't been discussed as a whole. I don't even know that.
Okay, it's really dangerous though to be putting figures out there if they're not confirmed.
I get that.
Okay, thank you. I'll carry on with what I was going to say. So I myself was blindsided by the notice of motion. To me it looks like there's a cool tree and it's alive and well, because I see other councillors who also voted for the opening of workshop were contacted and received phone calls and invited for a meeting. That didn't happen for me unfortunately, nor a couple of others around this table. I did liken this at the time to backdoor politics, and I was really upset that this happened, especially when working as a team keeps being touted. It seems to be selective when that happens. I don't understand. To be honest, I think this is slightly a delaying tactic as well, because you've asked for 6 weeks, I believe, to have a workshop, Councillor Thomas. Do you realise that staff have had that motion for 107 days? From the 18th of November until now, until today. So, surely the work should have already been done, or started anyway, so we can get an idea when the motion came. Because if you also count in the delay with the procedural motions, there's a lot of time to investigate there, in my opinion. I sent an email myself asking about, isn't the software we're using adequate? Because I have been told by other people who work in this facility that the software would be okay. I did send an email asking, is the software okay? Unfortunately, I didn't get a reply to my email, so I don't know if the software is okay. But my understanding would be, I'll just finish that here as well. I understand.
If it's clarification you need, and I think it's relevant that you hear that now.
I think it's important I do clarify that measure, because it's somewhat misleading to say that we have the technology. What we have at the moment is the technology to be able to live stream meetings such as this with one speaker at a time. You'll be aware, councillors, that often, and certainly will be more frequent with the long-term plan discussions, that work will be done in small groups back to the plenary session. The technology which we have explored with Spark, and yes, we did start looking at this as soon as the motion was passed at the last meeting, that it's almost impossible to actually have that occurring in the same room. So what Councillor Thomas has said is correct. If in a workshop situation, we would need to be in several rooms in order for directional microphones to enable people to be heard and through the live streaming. That is an expensive technology unless we begin again and rewire everything we currently have. Those options are continuing to be explored and they will be presented to the councillors. I understand that I did respond on that basis to all councillors.
If you'd answered my specific question by email, with that, I would have understood. So I have it now, thank you. I'm finding this quite frustrating, and while I understand that the word immediately has caused some issues, I just don't understand why in that 107 days it is now, that staff didn't come back and say, there's no way we can do it, we need this amended. That's the thing that I don't understand. I don't understand. So my concern is, and I'm happy to be wrong, my concern is that this is purely a delaying tactic in opening workshops, and I'm happy to be wrong if that's not the case, and I'm proven. Is there any way we can do a motion that says that we may rescind the old one, but we say that we are definitely going to open workshops, that is going to happen, rather than leaving it in limbo? I still want some security, I call it, for myself and the ratepayers to know that they are still going to be open, but with a small time delay. Thank you.
Councillor Shaw. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you. As far as I can remember, all the candidates for the council that I heard campaigned on a return to open governance and transparency with issues relating to council decision making. This election issue did not arise from the ether. It arrived from a serious perception by ratepayers that the last council was out of step with its community and was growing more and more clandestine in its approach to decision making. It seemed to the people that consultation was perfunctory and mere box-ticking exercise, and that public submissions were largely ignored. These perceptions led to misunderstandings and in turn to conspiracy theories which, to do him credit, the Mayor attempted to dispel. What didn't happen was a change in the council's secretive modus operandi. At the ballot box, as a consequence, several long-standing members were ousted and replaced by other members who spoke about transparency, connectedness with the public, and accountability. Some of these members recognised that in order to begin to restore public trust, the new council needed to make a statement reinforcing the pillars on which they had been elected. The now famous three motions were stalled by what I called in an article in the now extinct Prattler a sleight of hand. And the message clearly sent to the community was that the old guard was still in control and nothing was going to change. This latest move is more than a sleight of hand. It reeks of backroomism. There was no necessity to rescind this motion, just a request with explanations for time to implement it with evidence.
Yes.
On the 3rd of February, in an email to all of you, and I quote from my email, my request is that we all receive a detailed response from the head of the comms team explaining the need for further software, the reasons for legal checking, and any other issues relating to this delay. Politics is the art of the possible, but we as a governance team have a right and an obligation to full explanation should a democratically arrived at decision to stall. No answer was received, and that was 30 days ago. Plus 42 days asked for in the motion to get this organised, an unknown number for installation and setup. Really? Is that the level of efficiency? I have attended several workshops, and I am deeply grateful to the staff that have prepared them and helped me to realise why decisions are made, and in the main, there are logical and sensible reasons based upon hard work and data. I'm not always in agreement with the decisions made, but understanding the debate and the reasons behind them lowered my ire, raised my respect, and helped me to understand that decision making at this level can be very, very difficult. The public really need this information, and the sooner the better, in order to understand how decisions are made and share empathy with us. I have so stated at 2 of the workshops I have attended. They need to be open, and the public need this information. I too suspect the motives behind the delay, but joined with Councillor Tikanawa when she said optimistically in an email on the 5th of February, as a council we have agreed to make workshops live stream. Now let's give the time staff to organise. Sure. But not cancel, not rescind, but organise. How hard, how long, how expensive, I still have no idea. and the motion did say immediately, and we can all read. Can I suggest an amendment rather than a rescinding? On a final note, as a public figure, I have to be up to receiving the slings and arrows derived from what I stand for, what I say and how I act, and so do we all. These arrows are often launched unfairly and often impossible to defend against. I even made the herald for yelling and attempting to organise a walkout. Beat that. Sadly, it's part of the job. For staff providing information, we need to educate the public that they are operating under the instruction from the CE, who is directing policy developed by the governance team. In the workshops I have attended, I've seen nothing that the staff have delivered that should direct public anger at them. In fact, quite the opposite. We should make this point about their safety in the workshops, out of workshops, and at every opportunity, and in policies such as the vexatious policy, complaints policy, recently passed. Sadly, frontline staff have to face this anyway. Such vitriol reflects poorly on our community, but it is no reason to stall this connection with them. Thank you.
Fantastic speech there, Councillor.
Oh, thank you, Councillor.
You're welcome. I want to point out what you said you had no idea. I voted against 10.3 because we didn't investigate the cost of exactly how much we were going to spend. We did not investigate what meetings meant. Like I think Councillor said, if you go to the Wharepaku and you have a meeting in there, is that what we want to investigate? Is that what we want to have a meeting with? Or wherever? Where does the meeting stop? Because in the when I read the resolution, it did not say where meetings were, how meetings were going to be operated, and how would they be recorded. That's why I voted against it last time. I think some of the points that you brought up, or everyone brought up, valid. Transparency, yes. At what cost? At what cost? Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. At what cost? Do we want to spend? Sorry.
You're only there to watch. You're not part of the conversation. Keep your comments to yourself.
Yeah, look, I agree. What cost? People say that we shouldn't be spending money on this, we shouldn't be spending money on that. What should we be spending money on? More IT? I think we need to be more smarter, and this way we can meet to discuss what is a smarter way forward. That's why I voted against 10.3. To make sure we had all the information, we had the transparency to make sure we had all the information. Did we have all the information at the previous meeting? No. That's why I voted against it. Do I want to see transparency and meetings that we can all share? Of course I do. We've got nothing to hide. And if you go on our website, you will find all that information open for all the public. So that's what I have to say, Your Worship. Thank you.
Councillor Tinovich.
Thank you, Your Worship. The matter before us today is not procedural housekeeping. It is a decision about whether this council stands by a resolution it lawfully adopted only weeks ago. On 29 January this year, council resolved, effective immediately, that all council and committee meetings, workshops and briefings are open to the public and media by default, except where exclusion is legally required. That resolution was clear, it was specific, it was unambiguous in timing. Effective immediately requires no interpretation. Prior to that decision, staff had approximately 2 months to prepare and present a formal report on this issue. That report addressed legislative considerations, operational implications, and available options. Critically, That report did not identify any technical impossibility. It did not state that implementation was physically impossible. It did not identify a lack of software as a determinative barrier. It did not state that live streaming workshops was technically unachievable. It did acknowledge that the administrative process for live streaming public meetings are already in place. Council debated on the basis of that report. Council voted on the basis of that report. The resolution passed. Following adoption, and before any motion to rescind was before this council, 2 February workshops were held. Both proceeded as public excluded and were not live streamed. That occurred notwithstanding the resolution's immediate effect. No further resolution was passed suspending or deferring that decision. Only after the resolution was adopted did we receive correspondence stating that implementation was physically impossible due to lack of software and resources. That explanation was not presented to governance prior to the vote. This is not a minor clarification. It is a material shift in position. If implementation was physically impossible, that effect should have been clearly and explicitly identified in the report provided before Council was asked to decide, because Council decisions must be informed decisions. Material implementation barriers must be disclosed before adoption, not introduced afterwards. This is not about preference. It is about consistency of information provided to governance. It is about integrity of the governance and decision-making process. I also place on record that the January resolution aligned with the published Ombudsman Good Practice Guidance, which states that workshops should be open by the fall, with exclusions only where there is a clear legal basis. The resolution adopted by Council was consistent with that guidance. It did not exceed it. It reflected it. The motion before us today seeks to rescind that resolution in full. If this motion passes, Council will be making a conscious and deliberate decision to reverse a transparency measure that was lawfully adopted, clearly worded, effective immediately, and aligned with national good practice guidance. This is not an administrative correction. It is a governance reversal. The resolution was not unlawful. It was not ambiguous. It required no further approval. And the implementation constraints now cited were not presented as determinative at the time governance exercised its authority. Receiving this resolution will not correct a legal effect. It will alter a policy direction. That is the gravity of this decision. Governance integrity is measured not when decisions are easy, but when decisions are inconvenient. Today, in full view of the public and on the permanent record, this Council will decide whether it stands by transparency resolution it adopted only weeks ago, or whether it reverses it. Whatever the outcome, the record will show that this choice was made consciously and deliberately. Thank you.
Councillor Conwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you to all my councillor colleagues for sharing thus far. And I was like Councillor Van der Leden, I was one of the councillors that chose to support the original motion, and that was because I do have a desire, as I campaigned on as well, to uplift the level of transparency and communication and consultation with our public. And I remain in that position. What became clear to me afterwards, and I do want to actually comment on a comment you made, Councillor Privilege, around the report. Like you, once I post the meeting, I realised that the report probably did not include the level of risks and complexities that became a little bit clearer after the meeting. So with that in mind, I considered actually I did misinterpret, and like Councillor Van der Leden, and from my view I did misinterpret it. I thought that there would be a period of time where our staff would have the ability to prepare to set up for that. I did not realise that the workshop space would be different. I also thought, like Councillor Purdy, that this would be how we would be able to run workshops. However,
didn't consider actually you need multiple speakers to capture all, otherwise we all got to talk one by one, which could take away the value of actually openly talking and debating. So, you know, on my behalf, I probably didn't take enough time to consider all of those, and I regret that. However, I remain committed to finding a way to move forward so that we can have transparency and openness and openness. And to your point, Councillor, sure, also I agree that workshops provide a lot more value for our community so they can understand the complexities of what we have to deal with. I don't believe that the new motion on the table, the rescindment of the new motion, states that the other one was illegal. I don't believe that it states that we are not fulfilling the intention of the original motion, and I certainly don't support that intention. But I think last week's scenario and what happens often in public forum even more makes me agree that we need time so that councillors, our public, our staff understand what the guidelines are, understand what the expectations are, so that we don't have the sorts of things that happened last week and then the ongoing behaviour that goes during the week. I know it's no guarantee, just because you have guidelines that doesn't mean that it won't happen, but I think we all need to have levels of understanding and need the time to have an understanding of what it looks like as we move forward. So that's why I supported the rescindment. I don't intend for it to take away our ability to have workshops, but I just want to make sure that it's done in a way in which is financially prudent and protects all of the rights and interests of public, councillors and staff.
Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, everybody, and it's some good discussion here around the table, so that's good. I actually voted against 10.3 at last month's meeting, mostly because I wasn't sure how it would work with the pretty frank discussion that we had around the table or in groups with council and staff. So, but as Mayor Taylor said, once a decision is made, you just get on and do the main, and I was prepared to do that. So, with this new notice of motion, it doesn't actually take away the public's opportunity to come or to listen to us in the workshop. And as Councillor Shaw said, they had 130 something days for staff to actually have a look at options along that, but they can't move until the decision has actually been made. That was a month ago. So I think the transparency side of it is, and has been said, is a very good discussion, and I think everybody's on the same page around this table. We all want the same thing. We want our community to be informed and to understand how we get to, particularly the workshops, we get our ideas, and then we give those to the staff to then come back and then bring it to the table where the decision is made to whether or not we go with it or against it. So I think this notice of motion is good for us. It gives us the opportunity to debate it as a group around the table, just so that we can get it right. I'm not even talking about the cost of it, but just to make sure that we get it right and make sure that we all feel that with bringing the public, or letting the public come in and watch us at workshops, that this will work. And so I actually support the notice of motion.
Councillor Wilson.
I voted yes to the motion of open workshops, and the people want transparency. And the reason why I voted yes was because I can confidently say that my fellow councillors, we want the people of the South Wai country to trust that we will do our very best to serve our people and in the best interest of the people. So when I received this motion, I was disappointed and frustrated that this information was not presented to us well before the last meeting. And I want to take this opportunity to apologise to the South Wai people
for my part, and not fully considering all aspects of what is required to make open workshops possible. Now, we've heard the voice of the people to have open workshops and for transparency. I believe transparency comes through many avenues and in many forms. And I look forward to that other avenues of transparency becoming more available, more accessible, and of becoming of greater interest to all the people. I strongly believe that the videoing of workshops, though it will be accessible to everyone, it will probably only be of interest to a small catchment of the South Waikato. However, it is one avenue of transparency. The people of the South Waikato want to trust us, the elected members, and we need to get this right. And I understand that there is time, that time is needed to get it right, and therefore I will agree to the motion. Pass.
Okay, Councillor Wallace.
Thank you. I think everyone sort of said what I had written down, but so going back, we're not saying no, the motion isn't saying no to the open workshops, and certainly being in favour, being quite vocal at times that workshops should be open. What Michael is proposing is that we have a big look at the whole total picture, that we don't just jump in, because the motion would say all council workshops, briefings and committee meetings are open. What defines a briefing or a workshop? So to bring this back to a workshop, and it is time bound, I'm very much for time bound, and there is a time bound in this motion that needs to happen within 6 weeks. So I think that's great, but that's got a time in there that we have to look at doing a workshop. And we haven't actually been given information as to what is the extra cost for workshops, what extra staff are required, our ratepayers have to pay this. So to me, a workshop is when we can come together, we can all throw our ideas in and find out the best way forward, what it will cost. We've now had more information come to us that the existing workshops that we do, when we break into our groups, can't be live streamed because we are in a huddle, we are all talking at the same time and we're putting ideas in. So how can that be? How can the live stream happen? And it can't exactly happen how we're doing it at the moment, but there's ways forward, and I know that there's ways forward because other places do it, but we need to know how we move forward with the existing technology, extra staff, and make that happen. So our workshops are open moving forward, but unfortunately more information has come to us, and so that's why I'll be supporting the motion today.
Thank you, Councillor. Before I hand it back to you, Councillor Thomas, for his closing remarks, I just want to reiterate the fact that nothing in this motion suggests that we want to stop open workshops. It's just all the conversations that have been had that encapsulates everybody's view on transparency and openness. And the consistency is there that we all want that to happen. But if, and can I say, and it's been was used today in the public forum about the cost of the refurbishment of those 2 toilets for bus drivers. If you thought that was eye-watering, let's just wait till we see what happens with the cost of the hardware that we need to allow open workshops to happen. We're not saying no. We're just saying let's take our time to make sure, as everybody has mentioned and spoken, that we get it right. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, councillors, for all of your opinions, interpretations and feedback. I still stand by my motion to rescind the motion passed in January and invite and look forward to us having an opportunity for a workshop to discuss this more fully and find a workable approach to be opening more up council activities to the public. I also want to add now that it was frustrating also to not be able to share this motion with the entire council team before we went out with it. Part of that was because of the feedback that we were getting in public media, and if this had gone out earlier, we would have had a month of information discussing this in social media.
What point of order are you inferring that we would be leaking the
No,
information?
Councillor.
No.
Okay, thank you.
But as we are currently not all on the same locker, we will want to be on the same locker following the same chief, and they are challenging to disseminate the information to everyone. I hope that before we finish our long-term plan, we'll be all on the same locker, and we never have to go down this track again. Yes, it is embarrassing, but we are all human, and we all make mistakes. But so long as we learn from them, we should be able to all move forward. Thank you.
Through you, Bishop, I'd like to make an amendment to add item C to the recommendation. Just hearing what all the councillors have said, and they're all saying that we want the same thing, and a matter of words, I'm proposing that.
Councillor, I'm going to stop you there.
Okay.
He's already given his closing remarks. If you had raised that point of order during the conversation, general conversation, although it probably had more merit, but it can't now because he's closed the.
Well, we've been told we can't speak twice, hence why I waited till he finished.
You wouldn't have been speaking twice, you would have been raising a point of order.
Or would,
That's the difference.
or would my colleagues allow the amendment to be
You
put
can't,
forward?
you can't do that either. You can't do that either. He's closed the discussion on the debate.
This actually helps us as a council, the amendment I'm putting forward. It would bring us all together on the same.
Point of order.
Okay.
Point of order. I would like to challenge the mayor's decision, please. Can we go to the vote? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tunbridge. So.
I'm asking to vote on my challenge of your ruling, your worship.
No, you can't. I haven't, I've ruled on his, and I'm ruling on yours. You're not having, your point is already done. He's closed the debate. You can't carry on with it.
I challenge the ruling, your worship. I think that.
I'm putting, councillor, I'm putting the motion.
Noted, your worship. Thank you.
I call on councillors' recommendation this evening, note Councillor Thomas's notice of motion to rescind a decision made by council and replace the motion as outlined in the report. Discuss and determine the recommendations made by councillor Thomas as outlined in the notice of motion attached. All those in favour will say aye.
I call for division.
Call for division.
Thank you.
Councillor Takano. Councillor Chiputari. Aye. Councillor Vandaleden.
Aye.
Councillor Lee. Yes. Councillor Tunbridge.
Against.
Councillor Purdy.
Yes.
Councillor Richmond.
Aye.
Councillor Shaw.
Aye, but I'll be watching this very closely, thank you.
Councillor Wallace.
Aye.
Councillor Thomas.
Aye.
And I for myself, so the motion is carried. Councillors, can we have a 10-minute break for